Hi, my name is John, and welcome to another edition of Statistics Quest. Today, I want to talk to you, as I have previously done in some of these episodes, about what goes into being the greatest quarterback of all time. And I'm going to focus on, in particular, I'm going to talk about Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, even though there are certainly others that could be mentioned. Most people, it seems, will say Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time because he has 7 Super Bowls, case closed. I don't think it's that easy. And unlike some of my previous episodes where I've done some number crunching, right, have some mathematics, some probabilities, I'm not going to do much of that here. I'm going to talk to a few numbers, but I'm mostly going to give you just my take on what should constitute being the greatest quarterback of all time, or maybe the greatest at any position. A fairly recent metric in the sports world is something called WPA. That's win probability added. And that's the change in win probability from one play to the next. Okay? So for example, if we have a 3rd and 10 at the opponent 35, we're down 4 points with 2 minutes left, the team's chance of winning might be 30%. I just made this up at that point. And let's just say the team picks up 30 yards to get to the opponent 5, then maybe their chance of winning is now 57%. Well, you change the win probability 27%, which is a lot as far as winning. You change it from 30% to 57%. Now, why do I bring this up? Because I believe that win probability added is something that we kind of need to look at if we really want to assess the greatest quarterback of all time. So, for example, the 7 Super Bowl wins that Brady had, did he produce in what are called high leverage situations? In fact, the example I just gave you was a high leverage situation because the probability can swing a lot as we get closer to the end of the game. Normally, the end of the game has higher leverage situations, okay? And Brady has delivered, well, I should say the Patriots have delivered very often, right? In the fourth quarter, they had a big comeback against the Falcons. They had a comeback against the Seahawks. And very often they were high leverage situations. How much did Brady contribute to that? I'm not sure. But I'm going to get to that in a second as far as the impact maybe of a quarterback on high leverage situations. But before I do that, I want to talk about the Packers-Bucks championship game. It's just one game, but in a way, it's kind of, you might say, a microcosm of what I am trying to get across, okay? Brady threw 3 interceptions, 2 of which dropped the Bucks' winning chances 10% and 13%, meaning that at 2 of the interceptions, let's say one of the interceptions, I think it was maybe late in the second quarter, it dropped the winning percentage at the time the Patriots had from maybe, let's say, 60% to 50% because of the interception. That's a 10% drop. This I found on ESPN, and I'll gladly put that link in the description if you'd like. In fact, I'll probably put it out anyway. So 2 of the interceptions, even though they didn't occur at the end of the game, were fairly high leverage interceptions. They should count against Tom Brady. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, they won the game. It shouldn't matter. Well, it really should matter because at the time he threw those interceptions, you didn't know it was going to matter. So, in particular, I want to talk about one play. And granted, one play does not cover 7 Super Bowls or the fact that, in Rodgers' case, that he was 1-4 in championships games. But this one play is very interesting. It was the 3rd down play where it looked like Rodgers could run it in, okay? There is a gentleman that has a video. It's about 5 minutes long. I encourage you to look at it. And again, I'll provide the link to that video also. And it's interesting. At 3:14 of that video, you can see 2 things happening. One is that Rodgers stumbled a second because of a defender, which kind of takes away from maybe the fact that he should have run it in. 2, he happened to see a small window, and you can see the receiver's open, and the receiver, even though he's covered, kind of has position. It was Devontae Adams, kind of has position on the defender, and Rodgers felt that he might be able to put it in that narrow window and complete it, and he almost did. But if you watch the whole play, here's my takeaway from the play, is that Rodgers basically almost made something out of nothing. His receivers were covered basically from the start of the play. Rodgers had to scramble. And again, you'll see that he actually made a pretty good throw into tight, but the defender who was there, but he batted it away. Pro Football Focus grades every play. And I believe it's like from a -2 to a +2. And again, I've zeroed in on this one particular play. If I'm grading this play, from what I've seen, I'm going to give Rodgers pretty close to a +2. I mean, he did everything he could to make something out of nothing, even though it was incomplete. So at the end of the day, what happens is the talking point is, oh, the Bucs beat the Packers on their home field. It was in Green Bay. And that's more evidence that the Brady backers have that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time and that Aaron Rodgers is a choker. To me, it's completely unfair. Again, Rodgers outplayed him during the game. Brady had 2 costly picks. Sometimes it just comes down to bad luck. In this case, I think it was very good coverage. And again, it's unfair. Now, one game does not define anything, but here's the point I'm making. If you really want to assess the greatest quarterback ever, and this is one person's opinion, I think you need to look at, I picked out 20 high leverage plays, somewhere between 10 and 20. So you look back and you say in the biggest games of Tom Brady's or Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning's, anybody, the biggest games of their career, how did they do in high leverage situations where the win probability can change a lot? Not how did the team do, how did they do? My takeaway from watching most of Tom Brady's career, most of his Super Bowls, even in high leverage situations, for example, against Seattle, which they came back, they had 2 fourth-quarter drives to win the game. Tom Brady just never wowed me. It just seemed that, it might have been 3rd and 7. He got 4 or 5 seconds to throw, and he hit a wide-open Rob Gronkowski, or maybe it was Julian Edelman, so forth. I don't want to say that any quarterback could have done that. I mean, certainly Brady is a great quarterback, but it just seems that it's rare to see him maybe in a 3rd and 15 situation where he has a couple seconds to throw and he has to throw it into a tight window. In fact, I can name a couple Super Bowls where he seemingly had to do that, both against the Giants, both of which he lost. It seems that he did have some pressure, and I think they scored in like 14 points in one of them and maybe 17 in the other. I forget what it was. But so not that I want to say he had a bad game, but the fact is a lot of times the quarterback is dependent on the time he gets. In Brady's case, I think the play design, which, he has the greatest quarterback of all time, at least in 6 of the 7 Super Bowls. So I guess at the end of the day, and this is discretionary, if you're asking me to pick one quarterback, okay, to deliver in a big game, let's say with an average team and an average coach, a quarterback that maybe a couple times during that game has to convert a 3rd and 15 against tight coverage, who am I going to take? I'm going to probably take Aaron Rodgers. So anyway, I'm going to end it with that. Feel free to make your comments at the end, and don't forget to hit like, and I'll see you next time on Statistics Quest. Thank you.